For me, it's a little bit disappointing that ReSound haven't made this feature available in their rechargeable model, but there is an easy solution. Hey guys, it's Matthew here from HearingTracker, keeping you up to date with all new hearing aid technology. In today's review, I'm covering everything that there is to know about the new ReSound Omnia hearing aids, which ReSound are boasting are their best ever hearing aids at tackling hearing speech in background noise. Having now had the opportunity to fit these hearing aids to a few sets of ears, it's time for me to give you a full review and see if their claims hold up. If you're keen on keeping up to date with the latest news in the hearing technology world, then make sure that you subscribe to this channel, press that grey notifications bell, and you'll be updated every time we release a new video. You'll always notice that I am a little slow off the mark with my review videos, and that's because I want to have had enough time to not only have experienced the hearing aids for myself in clinic, but also get a hefty amount of feedback from my patients so that I can give you as much accurate information as possible, and not just all of the wonderful things that the hearing aid manufacturers say. By the end of this video, you should be an expert on these hearing aids. ReSound will always have a special place in my heart, as without them, we could still be waiting for Bluetooth hearing aids. Bluetooth seems like such an obvious thing to have in a hearing aid, but until ReSound released the first made-for-iPhone hearing aids in 2014, everybody was walking around with an intermediate device around their necks in order to use a cell phone with their hearing aids. Fast forward 12 years to August 2022, and we have the all-new ReSound Omnia. This supersedes the ReSound One, which was released 2 years ago now, and the Omnia family are all receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids, and I'll kick off today's review by taking you on a tour of the physical attributes to these hearing aids, and then we'll take a good look at what's inside. Comparing the ReSound Omnia with their predecessor, the ReSound One, you should notice here that there's no real discernible difference between the two of them. I'm personally a big fan of the current sleek design for their receiver-in-canal hearing aids. Giving you a tour here, you'll note the hearing aid itself, which has twin microphones here and here. They're positioned in such a way to run horizontally and optimize the detection of sound from in front and to the rear and help in background noise. Here in the center, there's a push button, which is essentially a soft key, meaning that it can be programmed to have a range of different functions, including volume control and changing to different programs. Finally, we have an LED in the center, which indicates the charging status of the hearing aids. And then we have the receiver wire, which rolls over the top of your ear and into your ear canal. When they're inserted into my ear, this is how they look, with the thin receiver wire coming around the front, the dome on the end, and the hearing aid itself sitting neatly behind my ear. ReSound have a variety of different receiver wires, including their unique M&RIE setup, which I'll cover the positives and negatives of later on in this video. There are 3 models available which span each technology level. They're RIE 61 rechargeable, RIE 61 which uses a size 312 battery, and RIE 62 which uses a size 13 disposable battery, and it sports a multifunction button and built-in telecoil. The disposable battery version will give you around a week's worth of life per battery. If cosmetics is something that's super important to you, then the smallest is the RIE 61, and as a result, I imagine will be the most popular of the 3. I'm actually delighted that ReSound have decided to release the Omnia family in both a battery version and non-battery version, as other hearing aid manufacturers such as the new Phonak Lumity, which was recently released, is only available in a rechargeable version. And whilst this is suitable for the majority of my patients now, there are still a few that rechargeability just doesn't work for their lifestyle, and as a result, I have to look to other manufacturers for the hearing aids for them. Along with these new models of hearing aids, there are also 3 chargers available now: the standard charger, premium charger, and the desktop charger, with the latter being completely new and not having a lid. With all of the chargers, a 3 to 4 hour charge should give you a full day of battery life. There's also clever circuitry in place, meaning that the hearing aids can be left on charge overnight and it shouldn't cause any damage to the hearing aids themselves. And by a full day, I mean you should get up to 30 hours, yes, 30 hours off a full charge. And even with constant streaming throughout the day, the batteries will still last for 20 hours. I haven't had anybody come to the clinic yet complaining that these batteries aren't lasting for a full day. The great thing is that if you forget to charge them one night, you can still put them in the charger for 30 minutes whilst getting ready in the morning, and you should get around about 6 hours of charge. ReSound's chargers are inductive chargers, similar to those from Widex, Oticon, and the new Phonak Lumity Life Charger. In practical terms, this means that there are no external contacts that need to align with the contact on the charging unit, which they've done to ensure that the hearing aids themselves are fully watertight. This makes them a little bit more robust than the contact chargers out there. The advantage of the premium charger over the standard charger is that it stores up to 3 full days of battery life for your hearing aids in the charger itself. So your hearing aids can be charged on the go without needing to always be plugged into a power supply. This is great if you want to go camping for the weekend or traveling when you may not have access to a power source. You can even keep the hearing aids stored in the case and they'll be constantly charging. It does come at a price though, so it's worth weighing up if you really will take it around with you or if you'll always have access to a power source. I would personally think that 99% of the time, the standard charger would suit most of my patients just fine. The ReSound Omnia family come in a range of 8 different colors, which similarly to other hearing aid manufacturers, ReSound produce their hearing aids to match different hair colors, rather than just being skin toned. Your audiologist should have a color chart to help you choose the right color for you. They're mainly matted nowadays, so they don't tend to catch the light, and the most popular color that patients tend to choose in my practice is the champagne color. In terms of cleaning and maintenance, they still use the same wax guards as the ReSound Ones, which need to be changed roughly once every 4 to 6 weeks to keep the hearing aid protected from moisture and wax ingression. These are one of the easiest to change of all of the hearing aid manufacturers. So that's the physical attributes covered. Let's take a look at what's under the hood of the ReSound Omnia hearing aids. The Omnias are available in 3 different technology levels, the 9, 7, and 5, with the former being the most advanced of the family. As the technology level increases, as do the number of features that you have access to and the degree of automation that the hearing aid has. As far as suitability goes, these images show the fitting ranges for your ReSound Omnia hearing aids. So whether you have a mild, moderate, severe, or profound hearing loss, the hearing aids can be ordered to suit your degree of hearing loss specifically. This is done by ordering the appropriate power level for your hearing loss. Plus, they can be coupled to your ears using a range of generic rubber tips or custom tips with a more severe hearing loss. Now, aside from standard receivers, of which you can choose from a low power, moderate, high, and ultra power, depending on the extent of your hearing loss, ReSound have a very unique receiver called M&RIE, which stands for microphone and receiver in ear. This not only works with the 2 microphones on the back of your hearing aid, but also introduces a third microphone which sits in the ear canal itself. ReSound are boasting that by having this extra microphone in the ear, which none of their other receivers do, nor do any other hearing aid manufacturers, the hearing aid takes into account the shape and size of an individual's anatomy. By adding a microphone in the ear canal as part of the receiver module, this takes advantage of the user's unique ear shape to collect sound the way that nature intended. This should give a more immersive hearing experience with greater depth and sense of spatial awareness. ReSound claim that this improves sound localization by about 15% when compared to omnidirectional BTE microphones and about 10% when compared to hearing aids that provide pinna compensation. This microphone is activated when omnidirectional hearing is imperative, and the moment that the hearing aids start to detect background noise, this additional microphone is automatically disabled, and then the directional microphones on the back of the hearing aids are engaged to help with better hearing in background noise. Combining this with directional technology, this results in a significant improvement in the signal-to-noise ratio. In English, this means that it's the best hearing in background noise that ReSound have been able to achieve with any of their hearing aids to date. I am quite selective in the people that I will fit with a M&RIE receiver, as they are a little bit more prone to feedback compared to conventional receivers, and that's due to the proximity of the receiver to the microphone itself. So I'll select the patients that I fit with a M&RIE receiver very carefully. However, if you fit within the criteria, there's no reason to not give them a good old go. ReSound are boasting that these hearing aids are their most effective hearing aids for speech understanding in background noise, and are stating that they've improved their speech understanding in background noise by 150% and a 4.3 decibel improvement in the signal-to-noise ratio. Yeah, you heard me right, 150% versus their previous model, the ReSound One. There are a few key features that they employ in these hearing aids to help them to be able to achieve this. First of all, ReSound's environmental classifier is permanently enabled and constantly scanning your environment. It employs speech and noise detection algorithms which are based on the frequency content and the temporal properties of the incoming sounds. And it tags the sound that you're hearing as one of the following listening situations, which can be individually tailored. This classification or tagging is faster than it's ever been, resulting in a more accurately tailored listening environment being identified by the hearing aids. Once the listening situation has been identified by the environmental classifier, the environmental optimizer then kicks in and applies the appropriate adjustments to that specific listening environment and adjusts the volume accordingly. These adjustments can be tailored manually by your audiologist specifically for those listening situations, and depending on the technology level that you have, could also be tailored to adjust the noise reduction settings too. It looks like ReSound have taken a leaf out of Otacon's book, and instead of always attempting to focus on what's in front of the hearing aid user, they've opened up the world to allow more acoustic information in. This is with the purpose of giving your brain access to the full sound scene. This widening of the sound environment mapping to 360 degrees, so all around you, means that the hearing aids are making decisions about speech coming from any direction, not just in front, which ensures a far more natural listening experience. As a result, ReSound state that the Omnias should now direct the microphones faster and more accurately to the source of sound that you're most likely to want to be hearing, and do so in such a smooth way that you're unlikely to notice that shift in setting. Then, when you're in a very noisy environment, they've created an even narrower beamformer, incorporating the all-new 4-microphone beamformer to provide even more precision for that best ever speech clarity in background noise. This all happens simultaneously across any sound environment, and as you'll have access to even more information from the sound scene, you should be able to better tune into the source of sound that you're wanting to hear. All of these automatic changes are happening under the all-around setting. You don't have to stick with the automatic setting from ReSound, however, it's also possible for you and your audiologist to work together and add manual settings, which you can switch to using the button on the back of the hearing aid or via the app, which I'll come on to later. This 2.4 low-energy Bluetooth connectivity is available in all 3 models, so the RIE61 rechargeable, RIE61, and RIE62. They've also changed the antenna in this model and are stating that it will result in a far more stable Bluetooth connection than we've seen from them in the past. So the big question is, what are the advantages of having hearing aids with Bluetooth built in? I've made a video covering this exact subject, which I'll link in the description to this video. But in summary, it means that you can stream phone calls, music, and the radio or podcasts directly to both of your ears from your phone. There's even an app called ReSound Smart 3D, which allows you to make manual adjustments to the settings on your hearing aids. As ReSound uses a low-energy form of Bluetooth, this connection will only work with smartphones on iOS or Android, and not all of them at that, so it's worth checking out the compatibility checker on the ReSound website. Phonak and Unitron, however, use classic Bluetooth, so are able to connect with any phone, smartphone or otherwise. Due to an iOS update earlier in 2022, bidirectional Bluetooth was enabled for all made-for-iPhone hearing aid users. And this means that now you can have completely hands-free calling with any ReSound hearing aids. In practical terms, this means that whilst the phone is streaming sound directly from your phone to your hearing aids for you to be able to hear the person on the other end of your cell phone, the microphones on your hearing aids are also activated to pick up the sound of your voice and send it back to the person on the other end of the line. In theory, you can therefore keep your phone in your pocket and the person on the other end of the phone should also be able to hear you speaking. To note, this only works with Apple devices. So if you're an Android user, Phonak and Unitron are still your only option for completely hands-free calling. Now, I'm afraid it isn't all great with this feature. Whilst in theory it sounds fantastic, I have had patients report that this bidirectional Bluetooth isn't the most selective at picking up the hearing aid user's voice, and some patients are reporting that there are issues with those microphones picking up a lot of the rubbish that's going on around you at the same time, which then in turn makes it a little bit difficult for the person on the other end of the phone to hear the hearing aid user speaking. The positive of ReSound over the likes of Phonak and Unitron is that ReSound allow you to toggle this feature on and off, thus eliminating this issue if you suffer with it. I therefore tend to have it switched off for the majority of my hearing aid patients with all manufacturers when it's possible to do so. Each hearing aid manufacturer has its own app for their Bluetooth compatible hearing aids, which is worth a video in itself just covering the app's functions. The Smart 3D app has gone from strength to strength and is definitely one of the most intuitive hearing aid apps out there to date and gives you access to a ton of control in comparison to other hearing aid manufacturers. This isn't just my opinion. Checking out the reviews, it is by far the highest rated hearing aid app out there. So all of those current Smart 3D app users feel the same way too. The Smart 3D app is available on both iOS and Android devices and allows you to manually adjust the settings on your hearing aids, such as the volume or different programs. ReSound also allow you to make basic adjustments in terms of adjusting the bass and treble, noise attenuation, and even speech clarity. If you make these adjustments and you like what you've done, you can even save your own customized favorite and come back to that whenever you find it useful. This is a great tool and gives you more independence if you wish to manually make changes to the settings on your hearing aids. If you want to be really clever now, you can even set this up with your location services, and then when you go back to that particular environment, the app will recognize your environment based on your cell phone's GPS and automatically jump onto that favorite program. Pretty neat, huh? If, however, you're not one for making changes though, don't panic. The hearing aids are still designed to be fully automatic and adapt to the environment on their own under the all-around program. The app also allows you to adjust the tinnitus masker features if you've got them enabled. And if you're streaming, you're able to change the balance between the sound coming through the microphones on your hearing aids and via your streamer. At the same time that ReSound released their Omnia hearing aids, they also updated the Smart 3D app to include a new feature that will work with any receiver-in-canal hearing aid from ReSound. So not just their new Omnia family, but it will also work on their older hearing aid technology too. This feature is called Check My Fit, with the sole purpose of helping you, the hearing aid user, to check how you've inserted your hearing aids versus a photograph taken by your audiologist in clinic when you notice it properly, and ensuring that you've inserted it correctly when you get home. I've done a full review on this feature, which is worth a watch if you're interested in knowing the ins and outs of how it works. But in summary, it's a great way of ensuring that your hearing aids are inserted properly, as research from ReSound shows that a poorly inserted hearing aid can result into up to 11 decibels of sound escaping from your ear, potentially reducing your ability to hear properly. ReSound's Tinnitus sound generator is one of the most versatile out there and gives both the audiologist and you more flexibility and control than any of the other hearing aid manufacturers out there. It's available across the Omnia family, styles, and technology levels. ReSound have two categories of tinnitus masking sounds. Firstly, their broadband sounds with 4 different types of noise to choose from, including high-frequency noise, white noise, speech noise, and pink noise. They have so much flexibility, with you and your audiologist being able to choose appropriate adjustments with amplitude modulation, modulation speed, and even the range of pitches included within the noise, all with the view to manually customize things for you. It doesn't have to be a customizable process as there is with the likes of Starkey or Signia. However, using the manual handles, this process can be equally effective to tailor the right sounds for you. With the second type of sound enrichment, ReSound have their selection of natural sounds, which are different types of ocean waves similar to that of Oticon and Signia. There are 6 in total, ranging from breaking waves, water creek, calming waves, beach surf, ocean, and finally shoreline. Using the Smart app, it's also possible to adjust the intensity of the tinnitus masker relative to the sensitivity of your microphones. Plus, you can adjust the pitch of the masking too. And in a sense, therefore change the type of noise, customizing it so that it works best for you without you needing to revisit your audiologist. One great feature that I've really taken advantage of over the last few years is Remote Assist Live, which I will say is one of the simplest to use from both an audiologist and a patient's point of view of all the hearing aid remote adjustments. This allows your audiologist to adjust the settings on your hearing aids from the clinic whilst you're sat at home. Yeah, you heard me right, whilst you're sat at home. You can be sat in the comfort of your living room and me in clinic, and I can adjust your hearing aids without you even needing to come in and see me. I personally don't like to make remote changes too early in the fitting process, as nothing beats having a patient sat in front of me to get those initial adjustments just right. And it's also more likely early on that we'd need to look at making some physical changes too, whether that's the receiver wire length or the dome on the end of your hearing aids. There are also a few features that it's not possible to adjust remotely. However, for the most part, it's great to have this backup if a patient can't make it into the clinic. During this process, you would even see your audiologist via video call on your smartphone. The one other quite important thing that I'm not particularly keen on with remote adjustments is that the first thing that I would normally do if a patient walks in the clinic is to examine their ear. And of course, I don't have that ability if I'm making remote changes. So I can't rule out any ear-related issues causing the need for any of the adjustments that we'd be making. ReSound have been great at recognizing where hearing aid technology alone will really struggle to overcome hearing challenges. And as a result, they have a range of accessories such as the multi-mic, which is a remote microphone, which when handed to somebody, they can move up to 25 meters away, and the sound of their voice will be streamed directly to your hearing aids. It even has a 3.5mm jack for an extra input, plus an FM connector socket, so it can also be used in combination with an FM receiver and transmitter system. And it even has a built-in telecoil. So if you choose the non-telecoil version of the Omnia hearing aid, then you can use that in conjunction with this accessory to tap into a loop system. The Phone Clip Plus allows hand-free phone calls with your hearing aids. It's slightly redundant now that bidirectional Bluetooth exists. However, I still feel that it's more effective and provides a better signal for the person on the other end of the phone, and of course works well with Android devices. The TV Streamer 2 streams the sound of the TV directly to both of your ears and is a great addition to your toolbox if you're having trouble hearing the television. And also another one that ReSound have that I quite like is their remote control, which is useful if you don't have a smartphone and allows you to adjust the settings on your hearing aids without having to press the button on the back of your hearing aid itself. If you're not familiar with a telecoil, then I would definitely recommend checking out this video covering the advantages of having a telecoil built into your hearing aids, which even includes sound files and gives you a real flavor of the benefit that you can expect from using a telecoil and loop system. If your hearing aid has a telecoil built in, then it allows you to connect wirelessly to a microphone set at a distance, and you should be able to hear the person speaking into that microphone just as if you were stood next to them. You'll have seen this sign in various places, letting you know to activate the T setting on your hearing aids to connect to it. And it can make a huge difference hearing at a distance in the likes of a lecture, church, or at the theatre. Looking back at the original models of hearing aids that I showed you earlier on today, the 62 model has the telecoil built in. I'm personally a huge fan of telecoils, so for me, it's a little bit disappointing that ReSound haven't made this feature available in their rechargeable model. But there is an easy solution, which is to use the multi-mic accessory, which allows you to tune into the telecoil and stream the sound directly to both of your hearing aids. ReSound also state that these new devices have an IP68 rating, which is pretty much the industry standard now. And it means that they can technically be submerged in 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes and should still function afterwards. They've done this by both externally nano-coating the devices and also nano-coating the internal components. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that you go swimming wearing them, but hearing aids do live in quite a hostile environment, and it's music to my ears that ReSound have been able to certify them with this rating, as it means the hearing aids breaking down less often. So guys, that pretty much summarizes the new Omnia hearing aids. I hope that you found this video useful, and if you've had any personal experience with the ReSound Omnia hearing aids, then I would love you to share it so that anyone else watching this video can benefit from your real life experiences. If you have any questions or comments, then please drop them beneath this video and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure you do so. I'll see you in the next video.